bought a new cable for $100 to see if maybe it was the cable, and it still wasn't charging. I reached out to a couple places. Nobody's really getting back to me. So I finally just called this number from the place that sold it to her, even though like a lot of the Google reviews were like, oh, they're terrible. And a guy down south answered, older guy, been working on wheelchairs for like 40 years. And I was like, well, so here's the issue. Yep, it sounds like your battery. If the battery's dead, the charger won't know what to charge, so it won't do nothing. I was like, oh, word. He's like, it's a U1. I prefer the gel. Right, you got batteries and bulbs up there? I said, yeah. Yeah, just take it there and, you get 2 new ones. Because they're like smaller car batteries.
Okay. How much are they? Are they ridiculously expensive?
A cursory glance, again, maybe about $150 each.
Look at you sinking money into this wheelchair.
Well, I mean, I don't know what else to do with it.
Yeah.
It weighs a fucking ton.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can just throw in even a van. And it's in the garage, but now that Callie's out there, she wheels it out every day and then wheels it back in, and she's kind of getting a little over that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, shit, if I can bring in the batteries, see if maybe they can just charge them. Maybe the cores aren't completely fucked, whatever that costs, $50. Otherwise, buy 2 new ones, hope that's the problem. And the thing is to get to the batteries, there's like a front plate that came off, but the batteries are like under the chair. So I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to get in there? And everybody that I watched, they had different models, so it just didn't seem like the same thing. So we ended up just taking a whole bunch of screws out, lifting the chair off of the motor mechanism. But then to get in there still, we had to unscrew all these little panels for the plastic molding and bars and shit. I mean, it was like an hour worth of work just to get in there. I finally get in there, I get the batteries undone, and then I notice that the tray does pull out. I don't think still far enough to actually access the batteries because the terminals are screwed on. So I think, I would have probably had to have done that anyways, but so I don't know.
That was a really good story. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jules.
And
we doing spookies.
Happy Halloween month, everybody.
Ooh.
Instead of filmographies, we have scary movies.
Yeah.
We both wanted to watch a bunch of scary movies. Mm-hmm. And since we're fucking you over on not doing filmographies, you get 2 scary movies a week.
Yeah.
For the whole fucking month.
Yeah, fuck off.
Tonight we're talking about 1980s The Changling.
Yeah.
Starring George C. Scott.
Mm-hmm.
He's... Fuck, dude. I have never seen anybody age so poorly in my life. He looks good, but he's 53 when the movie comes out. Mm-hmm. When the movie started and I saw him with his daughter and his wife, I was like, what is this guy's like fucking 65? He's pushing 70?
That's what Callie was saying. Like, why does he have like a 6-year-old?
Right.
And I was like, well, maybe he was like a bachelor musician, so he didn't get at it till later.
It's a great question. I mean, I guess maybe...
I mean, you look at like Hollywood and a lot of those guys have like toddlers and they're like 60.
Yeah.
He
doesn't look like... He just looks like an old man, too.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like he's been smoking meth under a bridge. He's not hollowed out.
Yeah, I mean, my only other reference is Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of anything
Angus.
Off the top of my head other than...
Angus? You remember Angus?
I've never heard Angus.
You broke his nose, Angus.
Beef?
No, it's
overweight
kid, and his name is Angus, and everybody teases him because, Angus cows.
Oh.
It's got James Vanderbeek as like a bully. It's got that weird-looking kid from Bushwhacked who was around for a little bit with Daniel Stern. George C. Scott plays his grandfather, and I think he's like, punch him in the fucking nose when he's talking about his bully.
From the 90s?
Yeah, it must be like 94 or something like that. It's Vanderbeek like beginning of puberty. Before Dawson, before he thickens out and looks like a man.
He becomes a man. So apparently this movie was number 11 on Martin Scorsese's 11 scariest movies of all time.
Okay.
I think. Some dumb list. I mean, why do you have 11? That seems kind of...
Well, he was trying to do 10, and he was like, I can't do 10. I'm going to have to do 11. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like him, but I tried to get the spirit.
I thought it was pretty dang close.
Thank you.
I was also a little confused because they mentioned Cheeseman Park.
What?
They mentioned Chessman Park in the movie, where some guy who's related to the history of the house.
Oh, sure.
But as far as I could tell, there was no Cheeseman Park area in Seattle. which is where this takes place.
Right.
But there is a Chessman. I'm sorry. Did I say Cheeseman?
Yeah.
Because there is a Cheeseman, Chees park in Colorado, I think, which is where the writer of the book said he experienced this, I think.
What? This is supposed to be a real story?
I think so.
Shut the fuck up.
I think so.
Man, this is what happens when I watch both movies 4 hours before you come over.
Yeah.
I didn't do any research.
Yeah, I mean, I could be completely full of shit, but
Why don't you look up that book and I'll give everybody a synopsis. Composer John Russell, George C. Scott, is vacationing with his family when a car accident kills his wife and daughter. Distraught with grief, Russell leaves his home in New York City for a giant, secluded house near Seattle. Soon Russell starts to feel the presence of a ghost, a boy who drowned in the bathtub there. Russell seeks the assistance of Claire Norman, Trish Vanderveer, who led him to the house initially, in uncovering the secrets of the boy's death. Came out March 28th, 1980. Director is Peter Medak, who was still active up until a couple years ago. He might still be fucking making movies, but he made Species 2.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw that.
I didn't either. I saw Species 1 and had no interest in Species 2. He's done TV work for like the last 20 years, but prior to that, he did Romeo is Bleeding,
Okay.
the Gary Oldman movie, which made me cry when I saw it, and I wonder if it would do the same thing or if it's another fucking Waking the Dead thing. He also did The Craze, the 1990 film about the twin brother sociopathic gangsters.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, he did, wasn't there one more thing? Shit, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No. According to Cryptocroc.com, the movie is based on a true story. The Changling was based on the true story of writer Russell Hunter and his experiences while living in the Henry Treat Rogers mansion in Denver, Colorado, for which Morrell and Gray poured over 6 months' worth of research before filming even started. Okay. So maybe it's not actually based on a book, but just some writer's experience in a haunted house. Did you know that some of this was filmed in Vancouver?
I did not know
that. Specifically the Triangle building where...
That Triangle building is impressive.
Uh-huh. There's no street like that in Seattle.
says Julian, who has scoured the city thoroughly.
Absolutely. I said, hey, I never saw that building. It ain't there. But I did look it up, and it was in Vancouver. Although I did see some of the other buildings. That really weird one that's like skinny, and then it gets big and normal building size. Do you remember that? There's
no windows around the base. It seems unusable. Do you take an elevator up 2 stories to get to the actual working part of the building?
I would assume so. I'm pretty sure it's downtown by the courthouse.
Doesn't look safe.
No, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, God damn, that looks weird. And then when I looked at contemporary pictures in the area around it, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure we walked by it. But also, the house wasn't a real house.
Oh, really?
They took a house in Vancouver, spent $200,000 and built the front facade onto it. And then all of the interior shots were just sets.
That's fucking great. That house, I liked that house a lot.
I mean, that looked like a real fucking house, man.
Man, I'm going to be honest. I thought this movie was pretty great.
That's crazy.
It bummed me out, but I thought it was... I don't know. I was invested in George C. Scott quite a bit. I thought it gave us a lot of time to get used to everything that was happening, slowly ratcheted things up a bit. It was not particularly scary. What do you want to do? Do we go into the plot and then you start telling me how you feel about it? Well, you don't like this movie. You told me it was a piece of shit.
So, yeah, it's not a scary movie.
There's a couple, like, spooky
towards
moments.
The end, a little bit. But mostly it's just a ghost mystery.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
I had heard it was quite scary.
Yeah, no. I think it's slow going. Like, there's a real extreme pan and close-up on a piano key that doesn't work, and then it depresses by itself and works.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I think just going in, I was expecting 70s-style paint blood and, like, just, I don't know, something more.
Yeah.
I really started to get into it once it became more of, like, an investigation leading up to the well scene.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of questions that I have that the movie seems to have no interest in addressing.
Well, I look forward to hearing them.
Okay. So, yeah, the movie starts. And he's Him, his wife, and their child, his daughter, who's about 5 or 6 or 7.
She looks older than that, man.
Maybe.
She
I
might
don't
be
know.
like 8 or 9.
Could be. They're all pushing their family station wagon up a incline that's just covered in snow and ice.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason. They're pushing it. I assume the car's dead, I guess. But while they're driving, it just dies.
Yeah, I don't... I think about this all the time when I'm driving. I'm like, why is that car over there?
Mm-hmm.
Why weren't these people able to get off the interstate?
Yeah.
What kind of cars are these people driving that are just, like, dying all over the place?
Right. I think some of that is just people pushing their luck with gas.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, man. In this instance, it just sort of seems like, why are they pushing it up an incline? If it stops, just let it be.
Why? Yeah, why does it have to be into an inlet?
'Cause
That's the whole thing. They push it into an inlet.
Yeah, those
So
roads
it's out
are
of the way.
extremely wide.
Yeah.
And so then he turns around, and then there's just a phone booth.
Yep.
I don't even think there's a phone wire.
No, it's just a glass phone booth.
It's just, he's Bill and Ted, I guess. I don't know.
This is how it was. This is how it was back in the day, man. There's just fucking payphones.
Yeah, maybe they buried the lines.
Fucking Larry's like, I know where I can make some money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put a phone over there in the middle of the woods.
Yep, cost $50.
Good
So
investment.
George C. Scott jumps in, and he's calling up a tow truck or something.
AAA.
Now, all the while, we see a truck. Maybe is it a dump truck? Is it just a truck with logs on it or something?
No, I don't know. It's a heavy truck.
It's a big-ass truck.
And then there's that stupid car that's not really going all that fast.
No. Now, do they come from a side street? Because all of a sudden, he's just skidding across the road. And then the truck, in order to avoid running into this car now, decides to run into the other car where the wife and the daughter are having a snowball fight.
Yeah.
Plows into the back of the car and sends the car just right over them. Just mushes them.
And that other car is long stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh man, I'm not a threat.
And then I think it took off.
Nope, gotta kill this family.
And George C. Scott, he sees the accident about to occur.
He's in the phone booth trying to get out. No.
He can't go. The door's locked.
It wouldn't have helped anyways, but he's not Superman.
You think it was the ghost?
He's not George Reeves.
You think it was the ghost?
No.
Locking him in already?
No, this is an upgrade with its plan to deliver him to him.
So they're dead. And he goes back to New York where he lives. We see some building that's relatively famous. Some sort of school. Something. Maybe it's Carnegie. I don't know.
The Fame School?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
They're about to put on...
Fame.
No.
All that jazz.
All that jazz.
Oh.
Sam's about to rip into it. So he's like, I can't live here right now. I got to get out of here. My family's dead. So he goes to Seattle area.
Mm-hmm.
And some folk that live there are like, well, we'll put you up,
Old colleagues.
And he's like, nah. I'm going to rent a house and just do my own thing. I can't be bringing chicks home if I'm living here.
he's got to get right back to blasting some ass now
So,
that his family's dead.
For some reason, the lady, she goes, well, I have friends in the Historical Society. Maybe they can rent you a mansion for cheap.
Do you think it's the ghost communicating through her?
Maybe, because it's like, why would you... Guy's looking for a place to live.
Well, he specifically said he wants to rent
But
a house.
Let's get him an extravagant old mansion.
Fuck, I don't know. He's old and he's a fancy composer.
I guess, man. So then we jump to the mansion and it's all run down and shit. And I don't remember the name of the lady's character.
I don't either. It's not that run down,
Diane?
though. It's just like a...
Well, no, the house
It's a little
itself
aged, but
isn't us. It's just overgrown outside.
yeah.
Claire Norman is her name. Apparently his name is John Russell.
Related to Russell Hammond from Stillwater?
Mm-hmm. And so, she's showing him around and she goes, oh, and there's a piano in here. I know you like playing the old Ebony and Ivory. Tickling him. He's like, I do. So he moves in. And it cuts to whatever and the house is fully furnished for some reason.
Does he have a maid?
He's got a maid.
He's got Mr. Tuttle, who's the groundskeeper.
He seems to be there all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't... I thought he was going to play into this more.
Well, he
when they set up
vanishes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yeah, he vanishes, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
She's there doing shit.
Is he a ghost?
Maybe. So, the first thing that is amiss is when he's working on this music, pianoing. He's a pianist.
He is.
I don't know if we mentioned that. And he presses a key and nothing happens.
It goes... Doo,
What
doo.
the?
It's the thud.
The
instead
hell?
of the tinkling.
Mm-hmm. But then he's called away by the groundskeeper, I think. He goes, oh, there's a guy out here with a truck. And he said you got a delivery. So he goes away and the camera slowly turns and pans very close in. And the key, like I said previously, I guess I spoiled it, depresses and then makes the sound.
Man, this movie looks great. This house.
They probably have. Yeah, I mean, they spent $200,000 on that facade, so I'm sure there was a decent amount of money in this thing.
The camera work, like that pan, it's some good shit, man.
It's very well made. It's competent.
This ain't no $50 in an apartment movie.
No.
This ain't Paranormal Activity.
No, and that's what I told Callie. I said, for whatever it is, when you look at something like that, it's like 20 minutes, the camera's just sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody's shirt moves. Oh my, did you see the shirt move?
Did I'm scared.
Fuck those dumbass movies. And so...
Well, I did want to mention the, like, sad piano music, the score in the beginning of the movie that comes up here and there. I was really digging that.
They also established a ball right before he left New York.
Yeah.
That his daughter played with.
So sad. Like, it falls out of a box that the housekeeper's packing.
Yeah, that was a nice cut. She's like, catch, and she bounces it at him, and then it cuts back to the apartment, and it falls out of the box and comes towards him. Oh, I'm sorry, mister, she says.
She does.
He goes, that's all right.
So it's pretty sad.
I guess.
Yeah.
I
got kids.
I know you do.
Hurt my heart.
I know. I thought every time I watch a movie that we watch and there's a child that's killed, I'm like, Jason.
Yeah, I have a hard time with it. I will tell you that, honestly, fuck that daughter. It's a little bit depressing. The other kid death in this movie is fucking disgusting. It makes me sad as fuck.
And that was my question. Do you think that's why it's rated R?
That's a good question.
At least on Vudu, they said it was rated R. It's rated R here too. And that's the only thing I can assume.
There's very little blood.
There's very little violence.
Yeah.
So it has to be that we see the murder of this child. It's got to be it.
It's upsetting.
Because there's no swearing. I think the next occurrence then, he wakes up at 6 a.m. and there's a banging. Right? Is that what happens? And he's like, what the hell? And it's like a pronounced metallic banging.
Sounds like it's coming through the pipes.
Well, not even. I mean, it's unlike anything pipe related.
You think it's the ghost?
I'm starting to think so. So then it stops. And I think he even asks the groundkeeper about it a little bit later on, and that's when he takes him down. And he's like, it's the pipes. It's the furnace.
Why would it happen every day at 6 a.m?
And why is it rhythmic, he says. And then it just stops. And then it just stops. That's my George C. Scott.
That's pretty good.
What I did appreciate, so the lady that sold him the house, she keeps kind of popping up here and there. He goes to an event.
Fundraiser for a senator?
Yeah. Some sort of a musical event.
Yeah.
That's when we're first introduced to the senator and his kid, which they don't really focus on.
The senator's kid?
Isn't it the guy with him, his son?
I assumed it was bodyguards. There's two of them.
There are two, but I thought the one that looked like...
a dork?
Timothy Dalton was his kid.
Okay.
Let's see here. Senator... What's his name? Cam something? Oh, Hagen Beggs is in here as the coroner. He was on Star Trek. Oh, you're not going to believe this.
You can get a cameo from George C. Scott right now?
No. He's just billed as extra. Giancarlo Esposito.
Is in this?
As an extra, I guess. Isn't that weird? Oh, no, Eugene Carmichael. That was the name of the dad that killed the kid.
Spoilers!
Yeah, I know.
This whole podcast is a spoiler. Every episode is a spoiler.
Oh, no, Joseph. Maybe it was just that I saw. The other guy was just his bodyguard. I like that the lady, whose name I forget now, Claire. She keeps kind of popping up here and there. She was at the event.
And she's pretty hot.
She's attractive.
She's pretty good looking, huh?
She reminds me of the actress that played Captain Janeway from Star Trek when she played Columbo's wife on Miss Columbo, the spinoff.
You saw Miss Columbo?
I did.
How? When?
It was on YouTube. I found it.
How many episodes did that air?
8, maybe. It's odd because it starts off. Her and Columbo split, and she's doing her own thing now. She writes for a newspaper, local gazette or some shit.
Columbo seems like he'd be a good husband.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you think his wife's going to leave him?
Yeah, he's like a 9-to-5 guy. I don't think he's not out until the middle of the night solving crimes.
Absolutely not.
He gets that shit solved by fucking 4:30 p.m. and comes home for dinner.
And he's so deferential to her on the show. And then, not only that, but then they make it Captain Janeway, who at the time was like 30 maybe. It's like Columbo's like 50.
Yeah.
He's not robbing the cradle.
He's only got one eye.
Yeah. And I think they even gave him a daughter, too. They have a daughter, which I don't think is canon.
Baby Columbo.
Uh-huh. And then slowly...
Wait, do you think that baby has just one more question for you?
Wouldn't that be something? She kind of reminds me of Punky Brewster.
Oh.
But slowly they go from calling her Mrs. Columbo to Miss something.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's get away from that better show. But I like that she keeps popping up, and she isn't a romantic interest or anything.
I thought it seemed like they were going that way, though.
It kind of seemed like she was sort of presenting herself as such.
Yeah. I was like, I think it's too soon, but I don't get it. She's pretty and she's nice.
Yeah. And
pretty and nice. That's a good combo.
And she comes by to give him pictures in horse riding attire, and then they go out and ride horses. Did she ride the horse there?
Ooh.
Does he have 2 horses?
Did
she bring an extra horse?
Mr. Tuttle takes care of him.
I guess, man. So he stops and he's staring like weird. She goes like, "Oh, George C. Scott, what's the problem?" And he's like, "I'm just thinking about my dead daughter." She goes,
"Why are you Sling Blade now?"
Buzzkill. Yeah, right.
What?
I didn't do it. And not much else really happens except the banging, which, one day he was leaving the house and something breaks a window.
I fucking love this part.
Do you think they just broke the window, or did something come out?
No, I mean, the glass came out.
Glass came out.
Yeah.
But not like a...
No, I think it was like the force of a ghost fist punching
Okay.
it out. He's investigating the
picks
glass.
up the glass. He's like, glass.
And it's like, is he just going to go about his day? No, he goes back into the house and is like, where is that room?
He spends a good couple of minutes like canvassing the exterior.
I like that he...
And he finally pinpoints it up at the top belfry or whatever. So yeah, he goes upstairs and... I think before this, he saw the face in the bathtub.
Oh yeah, the vision.
One night,
the
water's running and turns off the sink, and then he hears more water running. It's like a 3-story house.
Yeah.
And then
mansion. It's a fucking mansion.
Yeah. And then he goes upstairs and goes to a bathtub, and he looks in and he's like, "What the hell?" And then all of a sudden he sees a face. I thought it was a woman.
It's a little boy.
It's a little boy.
I wonder how old that boy is supposed to be. He's supposed to be 6.
Well, I'm pretty sure his medallion said 1900. And, well, I guess the last journal entry was 1909.
I thought that at some point they said something about that.
But I'm thinking...
The other situation of being a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Could be. 5, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
So he goes upstairs and he's...
The age of my child.
Yeah. Really bringing it home?
Yeah. It's so wonderful to see.
A little bit of a menace, too.
What? This kid's a sweet boy in the movie.
He's a menace.
Mike, the kid in the... as a ghost?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's a jerk.
Well, yeah.
You know?
It's been almost 100 years.
So he's like, "Where's this fucking room at?" And he's hearing the banging, and then he looks into a closet and he notices the shelving is affixed to boards, which don't appear to be original.
I mean, it's very obviously over a door.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the most obvious thing in the world.
And with his bare hands, he just rips the shelf off the wall.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with George C. Scott. He looks like your Teamster grandpa. He's fucking built. If somebody's going to be ripping boards off a wall, it's fucking George C. Scott.
He's Popeye.
He's Patton.
He looks like Popeye.
Yeah.
You know, so he exposes a door, opens it up, it's pitch black, and he just goes in. Walks up some stairs, goes through some cobwebs and shit, and he enters like a real small little room with like a little microscopic baby wheelchair.
It's not that small.
It's tiny. Is the bathtub in the room? No.
It seems like it is in the vision, but I don't recall seeing it.
It is in the vision, but it's not there then.
Yeah.
And there's like a study and a mantle, and he finds
dusty-ass figurines.
Yeah, he finds a book, a journal that's like dated to 1909, I think.
Sees the broken window.
Yep, and then he finds a music box that he opens up, and it plays music that we come to find out is the music that he's been working on this whole time. So he's just freaked.
Yeah. He
goes downstairs, he's playing the tape recorder, and it's matching up. He's making like a really dope mix. And so then he confronts, God, what is her name? Linda?
Claire.
God, she is good looking. Trish Van Devere. She looks like a little bit like Elaine Bennis in that picture.
Yeah, there was like several scenes in this movie where I was like, oh man,
yeah.
I got me a crush on this lady.
Oh snap, look at that. Legs. Yeah, she's good looking. Got a lot of hair. And so she comes over and he's like, How do you explain this? I found this shit upstairs and blah, blah, blah. I'm hearing stuff. And I think at that point, then he goes to a psychiatrist or some shit. Who's that guy?
That guy? Isn't that the guy, the coroner?
Is he a coroner? For what?
Fuck.
Does he just end up there?
Maybe he's looking for medical records and he's talking to that guy. Maybe it is a psychiatrist. You might be completely on point. That guy was interesting.
Because he's like, look, mediums are bullshit. But like
99% of them are bullshit and 1% are...
Which is why I thought coming from him, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But there is a coroner in the movie. It does kind of look like this guy, so maybe that is it. I don't know why.
Well, that guy had a very specific look. Is it not that?
Maybe he coroned his wife and child, so he just knows them. So he goes back to it every now and again. What is that sound? You hear that?
It's maybe your phone's too close to the cords. Maybe it's the ghost.
Oh my god!
Of the movie character.
Yeah. Yep. So basically, he just gets a seance going.
Yeah.
He puts out a nice table. For some reason, Claire brings her mother.
Yeah, I don't know why.
You know, at one point earlier, when he's at the institute, that old woman, she goes, "You shouldn't be living there." Claire fast-tracked the deed or some shit, and she seems to suggest menacing things.
Yeah, she's an asshole.
Yeah, and she bails. And then that's when he flicks a cigarette on their fucking veranda. Dude, get a tray. Yeah. So they're having the seance. And I thought this was actually really where the movie started to click a little bit for me.
Well, prior to the seance, too, when she first comes into the house, she wanders off and finds the...
she just goes right up
to the She's
room.
Never been in here before. She goes up to the second floor and finds that fucking passageway to the scary room.
Mm-hmm. Just walks right in.
Yep.
You know? So then it jumps...
her spider sense was tingling.
Very much so. So then it jumps to them downstairs. She's got a guy with her. The mother, Claire, and George C. Scott. And so they're doing their thing, and she's chanting.
She's doing remote viewing, right? Trying to channel it's not really remote viewing. What do you call? I mean, she's trying to channel it through. She's zoned out in the eyes and using the pen on the paper and just scribbling at first, but eventually it becomes words.
Yeah, and George C. Scott, he's audio recording this as well. He even asks for their permission. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah. So she's asking questions, and she's writing down the answers. Like, what is your name? And Joe or something. And were you murdered? Because there was a daughter there, too, with the guy that lived there. Mm-hmm. She got ran over by, like, an ice cart.
Yeah, when she was 3.
Mm-hmm. So they're like, are you the dead girl? And they go, no. And, well, who are you? And I'm Joe and shit. And then they bring out, like, a really big metal dunce cap or something.
I do not understand what that was supposed to be.
And it's like shaking, but not really doing anything. And then eventually one of the glasses on the table flies off and shatters. And it hits a cabinet that slightly opens.
And you thought something was going to be in the cabinet?
Yeah.
Some sort of secret?
Uh-huh.
No. Nothing. Why have the cabinet open then?
Why have the cabinet open?
Maybe it opened up a 30-minute subplot they cut out of it.
Maybe. Or just a red herring. Yeah. The guy's like, I'm going to get those podcasters. 40, 50 years from now, you just see. So they leave, pretty much. And basically they start digging, him and Claire. They go to the library. They start to ascertain who lived there. And do they realize that it's the Carmichaels?
I think so.
Right? Eugene Carmichael, whose son is Senator Carmichael, who's like ancient as fuck.
Yeah, he's like 80.
Yeah, gotta be. And somehow, I don't remember how
He's Senator Joseph Carmichael, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Joe Carmichael. And then does he actually then see the vision of the murder? I'm a little fuzzy on how he puts the pieces together that...
God damn it, how does he? I mean, because he
doesn't do anything else.
He listens to the recordings of the seance. And by turning it up, because, he's an audio guy, he starts to hear the voice whispering.
He listens to the seance, hears the voice, goes to call Claire and collapses, right? And then she gets there, and he's in a chair.
I think he had the vision before he called her.
Okay.
That's probably why he was exhausted and collapsed, yeah.
And then she comes over and she listens to it. And she's like, this is a banger, This is unprecedented. So then they go to the microfiche thing, and they start piecing together Joe's life, and they realize that for a while he just basically vanishes overseas
for quite a while, like 18 years or so.
Basically,
he comes back when he's 18.
Yeah, like his whole school career up to college.
No longer in a wheelchair when he comes back.
Yeah. So he was super sickly. What was the orphanage? I didn't quite piece that together. Was the house an orphanage?
No,
there just was an orphanage
because they needed a second child.
Right, but there wasn't. Eugene didn't run it or own it or anything.
No, I think he probably just was the rich guy that had connections. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they're like, yeah. So this kid was super sickly, and
how super sickly do you even think he is? It seems to me like he just can't walk.
1900s, man, diarrhea will kill you. I mean, it'll kill you now, but.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, however it happens, he is under the impression that the original boy was murdered. The dad...
Because we didn't actually talk about the vision. The vision is...
Oh, sure. He sees the vision, right?
He sees the back of an adult, the father. The child's in the bathtub. Man, this almost makes me want to fucking cry talking about it.
Here's a question.
He grabs him by the legs and fucking drowns him. He's under the water. It's horrible.
That's the banging.
The kid is hitting the tub.
The cast iron tub.
Damn it.
Now, here's my question.
Yeah.
We probably should have seen it from the kid's eyes.
Right.
Instead, we're just like a corner cam looking down.
Should be like the movie Dead Again with Kenneth Branagh, where the people who die, they see the killer. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, or Columbo. We see the murder occur.
Just one more question, sir.
Now, Columbo, I've been more than helpful.
Well, here's the thing. You said this one thing.
Yes,
but it doesn't corroborate with this.
Well, obviously, I misspoke. Because, yeah, of course I didn't close the drawer.
Sir, did you kill him?
Yes.
All right, case closed.
Go home to your wife.
Columbo style.
It just seems like, why are we seeing it? I mean, it's a movie, of course, but either from the dad or from the boy. We should see this. So he's freaked. He's pooping on himself. And, and the boy mentions a well in the recording. And a medal.
I actually had a hard time understanding Kid in that recording.
I did too.
About half the time.
I didn't hear metal. I heard well, but I'm like, maybe I'm hearing shit.
I had it really cranked up there.
What the fuck are they talking about a well for? Because apparently after he murdered the boy, there's another property that they owned. Because the boy, it's weird. The dad was super wealthy. But for some reason, all of the family wealth would go directly to this boy.
I mean, isn't that always how they do it? The women are nothing. It always gets passed on to the firstborn male heir. I think this is the problem of the kingdoms when they had castles,
But the dad was wealthy, right? Or was it the mom's wealth?
No, the mom died.
Oh, right, because she started
Didn't she die in childbirth?
whatever foundation. Okay. The building, I think, had her name on it.
I was going to say she couldn't have died in that childbirth because they had a 3-year-old also, but we don't know when that 3-year-old died.
Maybe she died with the 3-year-old. Maybe like his wife and kid, but it was a nice cart.
Dump truck.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And so, because the kid is deathly ill, if he were to die before the inheritance would mature, then it just goes to a trust organization, and the dad gets none of it.
Oh, is this what's going on?
Yeah.
This is the motivation?
Yeah, so he's like, well, my boy is sickly as fuck. Maybe if I'm good to him, I can control him as he gets older, but he might not live that long, and if he dies, then I don't have my chance of getting any of this money. So he concocts this plan where he drowns the boy, takes him to another property that they own, and drops him in a well. And then eventually, as the years progress and the zoning maps are made, eventually the well's no longer even on the map. And then I think he sells the property or gives it to somebody else or some shit, and gets another boy who apparently wasn't aware of what's going on, because the old man isn't aware of it at all.
I think he's 5 or 6. Right, so he even says to him, towards the end, you knew something was wrong.
Maybe he said, whoa, you're my long lost kid or something, and takes him and sends him to Europe. Or some shit.
He goes with them, doesn't he?
Does he?
I think so.
Okay.
They're there for a while. They sneak back over when the war is going on.
Yeah, okay.
They said.
Okay, yeah. They're there for probably 15 years or 12 years or something.
Yeah. Can I point out a flaw here?
Please do.
Can't you just, if your kid's all fucked up, can you just wait for him to die if he's going to die and then enact this plan?
Yeah, let it ride out.
Instead of viciously killing your child?
Mm-hmm. Secure the replacement now,
You live in the basement.
Yep.
We'll call on you when we need you.
Yep. And then gamble. See what happens. But considering a kid's up in the highest room in the house.
Seems like they're hiding him, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the dad isn't treating him that well.
No.
So it's you're already fucking up.
I think they hated the people with disabilities.
Get him a Nintendo, you want to butter that boy up. So, yeah, they come back and nobody's any of the wiser. He just got cured because of Europe. And then he, goes on to be a pillar of the community and eventually a senator. Assuming his dad lives a comfy life and dies. So George C. Scott, he's like, all right, this boy's dead. And I'm pretty sure he was in this well, which is now not even on the land registry. I got to get in there. And this whole investigative part of the movie, this is where I'm like really starting to get into it.
Well, and the scenery changes too. It's nice when he goes to visit that house.
Mhm.
You're like, oh man, look, a lake, some modern architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he goes to the lady because she was like, I didn't want you to come here, but when you mentioned the boy in the well.
You said this happened 2 nights ago? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She goes, because my daughter had a dream where there was a boy coming through the floor, staring at her and shit. And he was in this room, and they point. It doesn't look like a kid's room at all.
No, there's all this. It's the plants. It's all the plants make it seem like it's a lizard room? This is where I keep my tanks of lizards.
This is my green room.
Yeah.
Everything's green.
Coming here to relax. I like the cleaned air.
Yep. And she's like, you pretty much probably just want to rip this floor up. Right. And he's like, yeah. She's like, well, let me think on it. And then she agrees to do it.
Because her daughter wakes up.
Yep. Or just walks
I
into
think
the
she
room
wakes
in the
up
middle
and
of the
walks
night.
into the room, and then
The boy's floating in water. And so she's like, all right, do it. And her son-in-law or somebody comes, and he's like chainsawing the floor. Callie's like, why didn't they just use like a jigsaw or something? I'm like, because it's redwood, which it might have been. Redwood.
That's harder? Is that why you say you wouldn't use a jigsaw? I don't know.
You don't know, and that's
I
fine.
don't know.
And that's fine.
I cut down trees in my yard with
Ben?
the hacksaw. No, now.
Oh, no. So, and the well's completely filled with dirt, so they're bucketing the dirt out and shit, and then he finds a hand. He's like, what'd you find? It's a hand. Cool, and they call the cops, and the cops come, and they're like, what is this? Why did you come here looking for this and find a dead body?
Who is this body?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know. You don't know. You just do this on the weekend? So then the lady, Claire's like, why didn't you tell them? And what did he say?
They have to figure it out themselves? I don't know.
I think he said something like, if I tell them the story, then they're going to alert the dude maybe, and that'll be the end of our caper. I don't know. So he comes back later, and the mom and daughter are staying somewhere else.
He fucking breaks their window.
Yeah, smashes it with his elbow and climbs in.
Not cool, George C.
No. Jumps into the well, digs for like 5 seconds, doesn't find it.
With his fucking hands, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he just scoop them with his hands? He finds something, and he's like, I don't want that.
Yeah, and
I thought he found like an eyeball, which makes no sense. It would have long fallen
Maybe he had
apart.
a glass eye.
Oh, yeah.
So the kid's like, fucking
Columbo's?
idiot, and he pushes the necklace up.
It snakes out. It's like old-fashioned...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's reverse animation.
Yeah. It just snakes its way right out of there, and he takes it.
Now, let me ask you, because I was a little confused. The medallion.
Yeah.
It's got his name on it and his birth year, right?
I don't know.
I think it says 1900.
Okay.
Is that something that like the hospital gave him?
I assumed it was like a religious pendant. Like,
Why didn't Eugene just take it off of his body?
I have no idea.
Because he gets another one for the fake Joe.
Yeah.
Fake Joe's got one. I'm like, why did he just take that one?
You didn't get a medallion when you were born?
No, but
we all have medallions in this house.
just take it off the corpse.
They come out. You're wearing them when you come out.
Don't leave that one thing that's going to identify this body.
The mom's body makes them. They're like bones.
Sure. So he goes to Claire and he's like, I found this. I swear to God, I didn't plant it. And she believes him. And he didn't even have to say that. She's just all about it. And so he's like, well, I can't go to the cops now because I was alone. They're going to think I just planted it there. So she's like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, well, I'm going to go talk to the senator.
He's not going to talk to you.
Oh, he'll talk to me.
Does he talk to him, Jules?
No.
No, he gets tackled by security.
Yeah.
He's on the runway.
He drives onto the tarmac.
Which is fucking crazy.
Isn't it?
Man, you would be shot in the head now, you would think. Unless...
Oh, your tires would be flattened because you can't just drive in.
Yeah.
And then they would just kill you.
When I played
he's
Grand
white,
Theft
so they probably
Auto
wouldn't kill him, but
a little bit.
Mm-hmm. 5
They
stars.
just all start shooting at you. You can't be in there.
Yep. And he jumps out of the car, and they're like, who's this guy? Senator! He's waving the medallion.
You're an imposter, Senator.
Yeah. You aren't real.
Your dad's a fucking monster.
And the senator's like, what the hell?
He's not your dad.
Get out of here. But he sees the pendant.
You're a changeling.
That's so stupid when he says that.
I liked it. I like it when they say the name of the movie in the movies.
In this instance, I didn't.
Okay.
Although I did when they did it in Charlotte Gray. For the Angelina Jolie movie, it makes sense why you would call this kid a changeling. Because she's like, this isn't my boy. And here...
Yes, it is. Shut your mouth, woman. You're hysterical.
And here,
that's the movie.
Just an imposter.
Did you watch The Other Changeling now?
No, I should have.
I sat through that whole thing.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't like it. I don't remember it at all. Yeah, I don't think Clint Eastwood makes very good movies, man.
He makes very bland movies.
Yeah. Sometimes they're kind of cool.
Because he does that one take bullshit.
Oh, I just stopped watching them after I
Mm-hmm. I watched Gran Torino and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that was the one. I pretty much ended up like playing on my phone, I think, throughout the entire movie.
Or maybe Sniper, American Sniper.
I did not watch American Sniper. That came
time?
out after Torino.
I saw that, parts of it, and I was like, this isn't Iraq.
It stunk of rah-rah patriotism.
And it was like super fake.
It seemed like a bad movie.
They filmed it in like Kentucky or some shit.
Yeah.
So the senator sees the pendant. He's like, what the hell's going on with this dude? What's happening here? And he even opens up his shirt and looks to make sure he's still wearing his.
He gives it a little lick.
He does.
Yeah.
Twists his nipples. And so he calls the cops on his plane and he goes, he gives a paper to the pilot and he goes, call the sheriff when we land or the police chief. Tell him about this incident. And so George C. Scott is at home now and the police chief shows up and he's like giving him the business. He's like, look, man, you trying to blackmail this guy? What's going on here? He's like, no, I'm just trying to talk to him.
Bro, I'm a college professor composer. I mean, like, what do I look like, a blackmailer?
I look like I'm 60, but apparently I'm only 50.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm not even having sex with Claire.
No, it doesn't work anymore.
And
they haven't invented the pill yet, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was one point where
I have to use rubber bands to.
For some reason, at one point, he went to a bridge.
Yeah.
And threw his daughter's ball over.
Well, it bounced down the stairs at him
when he got home.
Yeah, and I think it rolled out. No, the first time it bounced down the stairs at him.
No, the first time he got it, he went to a bridge and he threw it in the water.
I thought it rolled down the stairs.
As soon as he came home, it comes bouncing down the stairs.
It did something ghostly to him, and then he got rid of it.
I don't remember if it did. But when he came back, it came bouncing down the stairs. And he's like, what do you...
I laughed pretty hard when that happened.
So
it's even wet.
That ties into...
wet when it bounces down the stairs.
It does. That ties into this next segment that I like to call, this movie is starting to not make sense. Police chief is there.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be comfortable.
He's giving him the horse shit, threatening him and such. Claire comes over. He's threatening her and such.
Claire's looking real good in that little hat.
Yeah. And so the cop's like, all right, well, give me the thing. Otherwise, I'm going to come back with a warrant. And he's like, fuck, come back, man.
See you soon.
I don't give a fuck. You know? So the cop leaves. Claire leaves too. And immediately he has a vision of the cop looking through broken windshield. The cop's upside down and dead.
Yeah, bloody.
Yeah. And then immediately thereafter, Claire calls him from a phone booth. She goes, oh my God, the police chief.
John, you never fucking believe this.
He just flipped over.
There's nobody around. The car is just flipped over.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead.
So
wait, so what? I mean, obviously the ghost killed him.
Right.
Did it go through his windshield? Because there's that perfect hole in the windshield.
So the ghost is able to leave the house.
And it turns into a really big bullet.
Goes, picks up her ball from the water, goes in huge bullet, but bombs the fucking police chief.
Yeah.
What does he need George C. Scott for?
This is a really good point.
I mean, he unravels the mystery and eventually confronts the senator.
Well, I was thinking that the reason it was able to take the ball is because it's water, and he died in water. Somehow that ties into it.
Okay.
And then I thought maybe also he's become untethered now because his body's been dug up. Like maybe he's a little more powerful. He's no longer entombed in that location.
I mean, okay. But then again...
What's he need, George? Well, George C. Scott did all that work beforehand.
Sure. So he just wants to validate him.
Well, he wanted to be freed from the ground.
Yeah, okay. So he's freed now. But so then George C. Scott, the senator summons him to his mansion, and he goes, and he's like, no, how much is it going to cost you?
And let's keep in mind, apparently this mansion is about 2 blocks away from the house, right?
Oh, and also the lady, Claire, ends up getting fired. They force her to retire, and they say, George C. Scott, you got to move.
Yeah, your lease is null and void.
Because of the senator.
He's got a lot of pull.
Yep, and so he goes to meet the senator, and he's got the recording from the seance, all of the documents, and the necklace. And he goes, you're a changeling. The guy's like, what?
Well, he gives him the whole story.
He does. He's like, hey, look, your dad was a dick. He killed you, and then he got you to be you. Probably pushed that ice cart, too, now that we're talking about it.
And you probably always knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm. You know you're not you. And he goes, my father. And he's got like a picture of him on his desk.
Like an old painting.
But it's a painting, yeah. They just painted a portrait size. Seems like a waste.
They had photographs back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They certainly did.
Especially for rich
Do you think
people.
he just like got like a really big painting and cut out that section?
That's a really good question.
And now there's just a big ass oil painting somewhere with that guy's head missing. And so he's like, look, I don't want any of your money. This is all I wanted to do was bring this to your attention. You do with it as you please.
What I needed to do was done, something like that. Yeah.
So then he leaves, he goes home, and the wind just starts blowing in the house. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's trying to make his way upstairs. And he almost falls. He breaks through the banister.
Yeah, the wind pushes him over like a gust I've never seen before in my life. Papers are flying down the hallway.
Mm-hmm. You know, he could have used.
And then he fucking falls.
He could have used a bag of paperweight.
Oh, that's true.
Fucked up.
They don't know the reference to that because that comes later.
Right. And they're going to love it. And so he falls from the second floor to the floor on the first floor. And he's floored. And the ghost starts lighting the banister on fire. Meanwhile, the old man is in his office and his desk starts shaking.
We skip the sequence where Claire gets chased by the wheelchair when she comes over.
Oh, that's right. Does that happen right before this?
Yeah.
He goes to meet the old man. She comes over, goes upstairs. She's like, George, where are you? And he's like, I'm
But why isn't she there when he comes?
She is.
She goes outside?
So she goes upstairs all the way up to the fucking ghost room for some reason.
Right, as though he's up there.
Right, and she even says, George, I don't want to go up there. And she does.
Yeah.
So the wheelchair comes at her, and she runs downstairs. Now it's on the same level. She runs, and now it's like we get wheelchair cam, and it's like rolling behind her.
It's really fast for being so old and covered in dust.
It seems a lot larger, too. She falls down the stairs. And it looks like she really did it. I mean, it's probably a stunt person, but...
Yeah, and the chair falls down right beside her.
Mm-hmm. And he comes in, what the fuck you doing falling down my stairs? And she goes, this chair. And he goes, get out of here.
You can just come over here and play around in my home?
Mm-hmm. I wanted this chair. Now you ruined it.
I was going to try to sell it once I fixed it up a little bit.
Right. I just got the battery out. Come on. And so he's like, go wait in the car. I'm going to go back inside. She goes, no, don't go in. He's like, I have to. And that's when the wind starts doing its thing.
Got some unfinished business. So he's laying on the ground.
Yep, the chandelier's flying about.
It's shaking little pieces of glass off. Yep. I think he yells out to Joseph.
What do you want?
Yeah,
Some shit.
But then the line of fire comes down the banister.
That was pretty cool.
I liked that.
And
then the fucking house starts to... Not quite yet. No.
Not yet. So the banister's on fire. He's on the ground. We see Senator Joe. He's at his desk in his robe.
He's staring at the fucking
and the
medallion.
Desk is shaking. He puts it on the picture. And it's shaking. And then all of a sudden, he's there. And he's walking up the stairs that are on fire. And George C. Scott's like, no, Senator.
As though he's in like a fugue state.
Right. And he goes all the way up to the room.
It's smoky. The fire's happening.
Yeah.
And then the house starts ripping itself apart.
Yep. And then George gets out of there. I think maybe she comes back and grabs him.
Yeah.
Gets him out of there. And then it like starts to collapse and shit. And then we see the senator back in his office.
He's still there shaking.
And he just has a heart attack and dies. So the house is burning and collapsing, and we hear the sirens. They go right past the house.
Yeah.
They go to the senator instead. And then he jumps into their car, and they fly over there.
And they see the body getting wheeled out.
And George C. Scott
sits and the
collapses on the stairs. Yeah. And fucking...
Nobody's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here. This is private property.
Yeah. Like,
this is the senator's house.
He did it.
Shoot him.
He caused
Shoot
him to get upset or something. And no, the evidence apparently is still there. And that's it.
That's the end of the movie.
Except...
Oh, wait. Yeah, the music box.
They go back to the rubble now, the day later, and the music box starts playing.
And the wheelchair's there.
It is. In plain view.
Yep.
Because they're not embarrassed anymore of the wheelchair. And a weird note, when the credits start rolling, they actually credit some dude for having written the music box music.
Oh, it's not a real song?
No, I guess not. And not only is it not a real song, they also were so proud of it that they were like, this guy wrote it.
I like this movie, man.
I thought you would.
I was feeling it, dude. I thought the senator was a good actor, too. His name's like Mervyn Douglas or something. He is Ileana Douglas. You know who Ileana Douglas is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's her grandfather. She's in Action.
Action, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
I thought he was good. I mean, I think like all of the actors were like of pretty good caliber, except, Oh,
wow.
Except for the wife and kid in the beginning. That was some crazy wooden shit right there at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, look! Mm-hmm. I can't remember what she said, but I was like, some people, it seems like there was more bad acting in the 70s, and we were just like, yeah, sure.
I noticed the daughter, she was like, let's have a snow. And the mother, no, She didn't get to say snow what? Ball fight or snow dinner party. I mean,
Yeah, it could go either way.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, this movie's not really scary.
It's not. And
It's
I think that was the
depressing. It's
biggest
sad.
issue for me.
It's a good haunted house movie, though. That building, the house rules.
Yeah.
When he's wandering around it, like you get the sense of the size of the house.
Mm-hmm.
When you discover the hidden attic chambers,
Mhm.
I thought that was really effective. I really liked the discovery of like a subsection of your home that you didn't know existed. I was having those dreams after I moved in here. Have I told you about this? Fuck, for months I would have dreams where there was like, it turns out there's a second part to the house that's being rented out, and there's like a door that you can go in between them, or I would find like extra doors that would lead to crazier parts of the house that I didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
I had a ton of those dreams.
You know, we lived in a house in Milwaukee when I was very young, and there was a room in the basement that was like a back room, and the windows were boarded up, and there was no light, and there was a bar that was going across the width of the room.
Hanging bar.
Well, that's where an old woman hung herself who used to live there.
Ugh.
And before we knew that, me and my brother were playing down there, and there was a shelf full of old stuff.
Man, you gonna creep me out? I gotta sleep in this house by myself tonight.
We thought we saw a face in the mirror.
Yeah.
And then we learned later that
Probably did,
Granny
man.
hung herself down
Residual energy.
because of the depression or something. I don't know.
Oh, fuck, dude. She's old?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People kill themselves when they get older.
Yeah.
It's like everybody you know is dead. Your body's failing you. You might end up in a home.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at my grandma's apartment in downtown Duluth, like we got back and there was like a police and an ambulance or something out front. And then later on I found out like one of her neighbors jumped out the window because she didn't want to go into a home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough stuff, man.
Fucking exploding after
Yeah.
jumping out the 10th story window.
Yep. There's that video of that guy climbing up the side of that apartment building because his mom was in there and it was on fire.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. For some reason, it had like chain link fence running up the face of it to block the balconies, probably from people jumping off.
Uh-huh.
And they wouldn't let him in. They're like, it's too dangerous. You know, we'll get to her or whatever. And he's like, she can't walk and everything. So he climbed up like 6 floors or 10 floors or something, got in and carried her out.
Saved her.
Mm-hmm.
That's much better than the one where the guy is on top of the building and sets up his video camera to hang off the edge and do some pull-ups. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And he does like 3.
Yep.
He can't do the 4th one. Hangs there for a minute.
Yep.
Fuck. I used to watch those watch people die videos a lot on Reddit.
Yeah, there was one I saw, there was some idiot like climbed over the railing at the Grand Canyon.
Uh-huh.
So he was sitting on like a cliff leaning against it and they're all like, hey man, you should know, man, the view.
Fuck, I hate these people.
You can't see it from there. And then a moment later, the guy just goes back to taking film of the scenery. And then somebody's like, hey, where'd that guy go?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's hundreds of feet down there.
Yeah.
And he lived, I think.
Really?
But now the rescue team have to come and get his dumb ass. And so stupid.
How about that guy that was at like the hot springs? You're not supposed to go in them. They're too hot. And like his dog jumped into one and he jumped in after the dog to get him out. Of course, they just died instantly as soon as they got out. Like all your nerves are fried. Your body's cooked inside out.
Mm-hmm. Or that guy down in Florida who jumped in the water to save his dog from a shark and he punched a shark in the face.
Wasn't it a gator?
No. Was it a gator? I thought it was a shark. Maybe it's both. It's Florida, man. Fucking Christ. I saw a gecko, little lizard, at Home Depot the other day.
In real life here?
Yeah, outside.
That's weird.
What the fuck is this thing doing
Well,
here?
yeah, you can't be here.
Yeah.
I've never seen a lizard.
Uh-huh. It was out on the houseplant, so maybe it just caught a ride.
Oh, for sure. That makes the most sense. You just
know?
solved the whole goddamn thing right there.
I did.
Man.
I'm Columbo.
What else do we want to talk about this movie?
You know, I don't know, man. I mean, it's a fine movie.
It's not clunky. Like, there's no stinker
no.
moments. It didn't deliver on the chills you were looking for. It did feel inordinately long.
It felt like 70s British horror.
Sure.
At times. It's very staid. Because this was after The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is 1980.
Yeah, a couple years, right.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like that changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
But this was still like a remnant of that era where you could just be suggestive or... It wasn't about gore horror. It was like...
Yeah, because I feel like the 80s are going to fucking go full throttle into blood,
tits,
guts, gore,
and
special effects.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think there were interesting parts. Maybe it's hard to say, right? Because maybe toning down some of the ghost stuff would have allowed them to focus just more on the procedural investigative nature. But once it starts going like full ghost, it's like, where's the limits? And this one ghost is just like powerful as fuck.
And what is the payoff? Like, I mean, who is supposed to pay at the end of this? I guess the senator.
Right. So then the money
He's the line of evil, I guess.
goes nowhere. But with the music box, is the ghost alive still?
Maybe, I don't know.
It's like
He should have been released. It seems like you would.
Yeah.
Maybe he has to be buried in his proper burial spot. That's where he belongs. That's what I was thinking. Like, when George C. Scott went to go confront the senator was like, what do you want? He'd be like, listen, man, I think you gotta bury this, come clean, say you're an imposter, bury this fucking body next to his mother, father, and sister.
No. Admit you're a changeling.
You're changeling on TV to everybody. And then you gotta go to the house and apologize to the ghost.
And I'm gonna need at least a 2-part Twitter apology.
Yeah.
At least. But it's gotta be a screenshot of an apology that you've already written.
I did need that senator to go to the house. Did you need him to go to the house?
Mm-hmm.
It did feel like he had to go to the house. I actually really liked that he was in both places. I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
I mean, it's interesting, because then I guess they probably would have maybe arrested George C. Scott for murder, maybe, if he just went. Plus, he's old as fuck, so he's not going to just go by himself.
Right.
You know, it's interesting, but again, like the supernatural powers on display here are insane.
Jules is a little curious about how the rules work in this world.
I just would like either the ghost to be stuck there, because he's killing the police chief, man.
Police chief's a fucker, though. Police chief's working for the bad guy.
To some extent, but I mean...
And he's threatening the one person helping the kid.
He doesn't know who this asshole is.
Yeah.
And he's driving up on tarmacs, 5-starring and shit.
I felt like that police chief felt dirty. I felt like he was just in the pocket of the senator. I didn't feel like it was real police
He was
business.
leaning on this guy definitely as a favor to the senator.
Yeah.
But for as much as he knew, it could have been a shakedown of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, there seems to be no issue with this guy the whole time, and all of a sudden, this asshole shows up and he's dangling medallions around, and you know.
I recommend this movie.
Yeah,
maybe. Oh, you know what's mildly interesting is, did I say is Melvin Douglas? Whoever plays the senator.
Mm-hmm.
He dies, like, I think, not long after this movie comes out. He also made a ghost story. I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
And that,
with Casey Affleck?
No.
Oh.
It's the 80s one. It came out in 81, I think, also. Okay. Maybe like 1 year after this one. It's where these old people meet up and you find out they're involved. It's a good ghost story movie. But it's another thing where an old guy is involved in something nefarious from his past that is now haunting him.
Sure.
Very similar fucking situation.
Yeah. He kind of reminded me a little bit of George Byrne.
I was getting like a Burgess Meredith thing almost off him, too.
Yeah.
Are these our old people references?
Super old people. Yeah. That's the thing.
What were you going to say about the movie? What are your recommendations, ratings?
It's hard to recommend. Definitely, I would not recommend this like we're recommending it.
Like as a spooky?
Mm-hmm. It's a fine movie. Maybe if you were watching other movies like it, I would add it to that list. You know, if you were culminating in like The Exorcist, but you were starting with like the Apple Dumpling Gang, I would put this probably like right in the middle of that.
Okay.
On the spookometer, where would you think this would land?
Man, that's a bummer, because I guess I would give this like maybe a 4 on the spookometer.
Mm-hmm.
As a movie, I would give it like a 7. Even though, again, I'm sad.
Or did you get any weird spooky feelings at all?
Yeah, I got spooked out like once or twice a little bit.
Okay.
But I thought like the overall vibe is good.
Yeah, I think as just a movie, better than I originally gave it credit for.
That building's got a good creep vibe, though. I would say there's like creepy vibes floating throughout the movie.
Yeah, it establishes everything perfectly fine. There's a nice element to it that isn't just your regular spooky movie.
Yeah.
Ghost.
They weren't jump scaring you
I gotta
24/7.
burn the book, or, you know, but even when he does sort of avenge him, he washes his hands of it. He's like, I can't do anything beyond this.
Yeah, I mean, he's done with the house anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's kicked out. He didn't give a fuck.
It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing right by this kid, though. I'm not fucking him over.
Yeah, I'd go with a 4 on the spookometer as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a 3 if we're talking pure spooks, but it is a pretty well-made movie. George C. Scott is pretty good.
Man, I fucking like him.
You know, his nose is fucking incredible.
Dude, I came out of this movie being like, George C. Scott fucking rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's real cool.
Yeah, add him to the list.
No, but I'm thinking he's real cool.
Because he's probably got some movies from the 40s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no-go.
Well, if he's only 53 in this from the 40s, he'd be, I guess, maybe. I would like to make sure we plug the Soda Review podcast.
Yeah, maybe I'll do some spooky drinks this month. I got that one witch drink still.
It's made with witch hazel?
It's a mystery as to what's inside of it, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I do the Soda Review podcast. It's on YouTube. primarily.
Spotify?
No, I don't really do it anywhere else.
No, YouTube.
Just
Check it out. It's part of, what is it, JW?
conglomerate.
Yeah, I like that.
I changed it up.
I saw that. That was good. Jules is drinking craft sodas. He's telling you what they taste like. It's nice.
Yeah.
They're fucking 4 to 9 minutes long.
I'm adding some musical cues and,
They're chill. They're nice. Check them out.
Yeah.
I have a recommendation for a scary podcast.
Oh, okay.
You Can See Me in the Dark.
Huh.
That's true ghost stories. People call in, I guess. Or maybe they professionally produce it. The sound quality is good, but it's people telling scary stories. I like it. I think it's usually one story, sometimes 2 per episode. They re-released the earlier ones, but the namesake, You Can See Me in the Dark, it took place in Minneapolis. And they move into a new home. There's all these issues, but eventually there's this ghost that's harassing the daughter. The lights are out, and the ghost is frantically saying, "You can see me in the dark! You can see me in the dark!" And I think that's so creepy. And they have a super dope theme song, which I'll put in here right now.
I'm Melissa Sweezy.
And I'm Nate Reisman, and this is You Can See Me in the Dark.
That was really good. So check that podcast out.
Yep.
Check Jules' podcast out.
Yep.
Hit us up on Instagram at We Doing Filmographies.
Hit us up on Twitter. Do Filmographies.
Word. Get over on YouTube.
Yep.
We Doing Filmographies on YouTube. Got that fucking Facebook rolling.
Yeah. And we're on every podcast thing that's worthwhile.
Right. You could rate, review, and like us. Send us a fucking email. At
We
We
Doing
Doing Filmographies
at
gmail.com.
Right. We got a hotline.
Oh, yeah. 763-634-1897.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
I'm Jules.
I'm Jason. We'll see you next week with Train to Busan.
Oh, but what's that behind you?
Ah!